remember what the defendant told you after the shooting, the priorities were? Make the house safe. Make the house safe. And by the way, he supposedly first is inquiring, why is a man coming into your house with a gun? Did you hear that from Ernest Payne? No. Ernest Payne said they pointed a gun at me. I'm holding my 3-year-old daughter, and they said, get on the floor. Did you hear that from Sharon Payne? No. Ernest told you because Sharon was obviously tunnel vision. You know, Ernest said she was right next to the guy, to the marshal with the gun, and he's telling her, "Get back," you know, and she's not paying any attention. But it's not. Why is somebody coming into your house with a gun? You heard at the end of the 911 case. You hear the marshals. And did they seem concerned about who is this guy that came into your house with a gun? No, they're herding them out. They're pushing them out of their home. Sharon Payne told you she went to or headed to her closet to get a coat. It's December. You know, she's got small children, to get coats for them. They wouldn't even allow that. Get out of the house. Get out of the house. We got to make it clear. And the defense says, yes, that's the priority. We got to make it clear. We got to clear the house. Well, let's see how much of a priority it was for you. We need the computer again, please. Okay, stop.
That's ideal.
This is Officer Sam Rippey's body cam. You'll have the whole body cam back there, but Officer Rippey is one of the first officers to arrive there, and he's moving forward with his gun drawn. He doesn't know what's going on, because guess what? One of the practices and principles of policing, communicate. It wasn't happening. It didn't happen. I guess clearing the front yard was important. I mean, that's the defendant. And they haven't cleared the house yet. Okay, go ahead. Let's see what he does.
Okay. We got a medic on scene, but...
Yeah, I know. That's what I said. Don't send him in yet.
Okay.
The medics are there. Help is there for Casey. And what does the defendant say? Hold the medics. Because the house isn't clear. Okay, go ahead.
Tell them to stay. Tell them to stay. Come out this way, folks. Come out.
He'll keep getting his sleep. But do you notice the change in the taillights? Back it up and play it again. The defendant's getting into his truck.
Come out this way, folks. Come out. Hey, come out this way. We'll send them.
Now that sure was a priority, wasn't it? Better get my lights on. House isn't cleared. I just shot a guy 6 times. He's lying on the floor, dying. and the defendant's out turning on his lights. How's that a priority? Mr. Schroyer asked him about it. Oh, I don't remember doing that. He had zero explanation for it. Physical evidence doesn't lie. People do. Where else has the defendant lied? I strike that. I'm not going to call him a liar. Where else has the defendant been deceitful? Well, we've seen over and over again the intersection at Ferris and Carl. I think it's important that you remember that the defendant provided a statement to investigators. And in that statement, he said, or wrote, as I was sitting at the light at Ferris and Carl, I see this car approaching southbound. He stops because there's northbound traffic coming through. And as he stopped at the intersection, I see him waving a gun. And as he stopped at the intersection, I see him pointing the gun at the car proceeding through the intersection, the northbound car, tracking the driver. And that alarmed me. And then, once the northbound driver cleared the intersection, he then turned left in front of me. And as he came by me, he pointed the gun at me. Then he drove on. That's what he told investigators through his written statement. You've watched that Ferris and Carl intersection video time and time again throughout this trial. Casey never stopped. It was a continual left turn. What's the defendant's explanation? Oh, well, I was wrong. I guess he didn't stop. Now that he's confronted with the physical evidence that doesn't lie, he's got to back off. But I still saw everything that I saw. In fact, as he went by me, I ducked and I reached for my gun. Okay, there's the left hand. And I'm narrating on the radio, handheld. There's the right hand. What's he driving? What's he turn around with? But that's not all that exists in this case to show you the fabrication at that intersection. You heard yesterday from Christopher Korn. And Christopher Korn, as we all now know, by happenstance, was in the van immediately behind the defendant. And what did Christopher Korn tell you he saw? That I saw this young man dancing in his car, consistent with what we know, AirPods, playing music. And he said he even looked like he was singing. You wouldn't want to hear me sing. But time and time again, when I'm in the car by myself, I'll sing along with the, I don't have AirPods, along with the radio. And I'm good then. What's that consistent with? It's consistent with the YouTube music. It's consistent with the AirPods. Now, they're going to get up here and they're going to tell you all the reason not to believe Christopher Korn. Because, you know, frankly, they know that if you believe Christopher Korn, then the case is over for them. Because he exposes the cover-up. And it began with when he turned his lights on while Casey was dying on the floor, and continued when he submitted his statement with this supposed pointing of the gun. Because if Casey didn't point the gun at him, where is the risk? Where is the need to the urgency to do anything? If he'd been followed his training or been properly trained, there wasn't a need. He would have wanted the build time, as Professor Stoughton told you. Create time, create distance. But boy, take out pointing the gun at the intersection and everything collapses. So what about Mr. Korn's testimony is unreasonable? Well, I think the fact that it came at the last minute, that he didn't make himself known to law enforcement, that's something you can consider. But you've watched this, or you've been here every minute, and every minute you've been here, that camera's been here. They aren't just taking home movies. They're broadcasting it everywhere. And back when this happened, there was all kinds of coverage in the media. So is it that astonishing that this guy says, no, I really didn't want to get involved. Once he realized that there was something there, that he had seen something of importance, because initially he didn't know. He turned around and followed the defendant and Rosser because he's a little ghoulish, I guess. You think, oh, they must be going to do something. Maybe I can be a little entertained. Maybe I can see somebody's door get kicked in or something like that. You might not choose to do that, but there are people that chase fire engines. There are people that have police scanners, and they're listening all the time to the activity because they find it interesting. But once he figured out that, oh my goodness, I was right in the middle of this. Is it astonishing that he didn't want to be part of it? But yet, he also recognized that he did have an important piece of information. So, when asked, why did you come forward? He said, just had to do the right thing. They had to do the right thing. And it was the right thing. He wasn't obligated to come forward. He did nothing wrong. You witness a bank robbery and watch the robbers jump in the getaway car and drive away. You're not obligated to follow them. You're not obligated to stand around there and wait until the police came and say, hey, I saw the robbers go that way. You're not obligated. We hope citizens will inform the police of information. It's helpful, absolutely. But it's not an obligation. Despite what Mr. Nolder would make it sound like. Now, Mr. Nolder's a very skilled lawyer. And I think if you watch the cross-examination, you saw a skilled lawyer at work. Because Mr. Nolder said, wow, you wanted to do the right thing. Was it the right thing to take down your Facebook? And Mr. Korn said, well, I suppose not. Nothing wrong with him taking down his Facebook. I'm a technological caveman. I'm not on social media. I don't know any of that stuff. Got to call my 7-year-old granddaughter to find out. But it makes perfect sense to me that once media got a hold of his name and broadcasted it throughout the whole area and so forth, and he opens up his Facebook, and here are 100 or more friend requests from people he has no idea who they are, that he'd think, man, the easiest way to stop this is to take down my Facebook. So was it the right thing to do? Depends on your perspective. Was it the wrong thing to do? No. There's no obligation. Mr. Nolder made it sound like it was an obligation. Mr. Nolder made it sound like he was doing something wrong. He did nothing wrong. He took his Facebook down. He had made a number of posts, apparently, and I had to call my 7-year-old granddaughter to find out what all that meant. But I guess on the news or on the internet, you have the ability to post, write a comment or put a thumbs up or something like that. And he did that. And then he took them down. Because shockingly, as he was progressing through this as to whether to come forward or not, he began to have second thoughts. Mr. Nolder made it sound like, oh, wow, that wasn't the right thing to do, was it? No, I guess it wasn't. But it wasn't the wrong thing either. It was a reasonable thing to do, given the situation. Does it mean he didn't see what he saw? Does it mean that he came in here and fabricated all that? Who's got the motive to do that? You got contrasting stories. One person says he's got a gun in his hand. The other says, I saw no gun. I saw nothing in his hands. My attention was drawn to him because he was dancing in the car and he was somewhat erratic. I thought at one moment that he was going to hit me. That's what was notable to me. Who's got the motivation to be deceptive?
Councilwoman approach.
switch us over to the computer, please? Much to your relief, I'm almost done. There's a lot more I could say. Remember, back in voir dire, we talked about why did this happen? Why? And I said, you know, you may end up at the end of the case still asking that question, and it may still be unanswered for you, because that's not part of our obligation. We don't have to prove motive. But ladies and gentlemen, the defendant told us why this happened. I want to play it for you now.
He came out the street, gun in his hand, going to the side door, going in with a gun.
You guys were pulling out?
Yes, as I was pulling up.
Yeah, Joey asked first to go.
Doing this. Who's in charge here? I was one that was on the scene. I was one of the initiator.
Does that sound like someone who, like a objective, reasonable officer? No. He's going in the house with a gun. I had to stop him. There was nothing that he had done that indicated that he needed to be stopped. Especially when you eliminate his manufactured reason initially to be looking at it. No one saw a gun except the defendant until it was on the floor at 3996 Estates Place. No one, not Officer Rosser, no one. Why didn't they? Because it was in his holster. Ladies and gentlemen, consider all the evidence, evaluate it, and return a just verdict for Casey, who did nothing wrong, but had the terrible misfortune of crossing the path of Michael Jason Meade, an aggressive, arrogant, and remorseless officer who sat before you and told you what disturbed him wasn't taking an innocent life, but that he ruined his son's birthday.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our morning break. Do not discuss this case among yourselves. Do not permit anyone to discuss it with you or in your presence. It is your duty not to form or express an opinion on the case until it is finally submitted to you. About 15 minutes.
All rise. You sit in your chair.
Let me give you a break.